Everybody wants to grow great tomatoes, and this is Jim King, who is the wonderful gardener growing these massive plants. Your plants for this time of year look terrific. And
Thanks.
Tell me, how did you get started with this?
Last winter, I read a book by Craig LeHoullier called Epic Tomatoes. It turned out I read it just in time in the January time frame to begin planting for the spring. I'd never grown tomatoes. I'd never grown tomatoes before, but I read Craig's book and basically just followed his recipe. I went through his book, picked out a bunch of varieties that I wanted to grow, ordered seeds from places like Seed Savers Exchange, Johnny's Seeds, that kind of thing. All online.
Mail order,
got the seeds, ordered the mix, started off with the stuff called Metro Mix 360 he recommends. Put the seeds with the help of my daughter in a bunch of small seed flats. Started them on March 1st.
Under grow lights
Put them on a grow light and a heating mat with about 80.
Okay, so bottom heat.
Bottom heat, about 80-degree temperature. Once the seedlings came up, I put them under a grow light. 2 or 3 weeks later, I transplanted the seedlings from their individual small pots into individual 4-inch pots.
Right.
Again, using the Metro Mix 360, and then transplanted them out into these larger pots.
Right.
Probably mid-April.
Okay, right after the last frost date, which in our area, which is Middle Tennessee, is April 15th, tax day.
If I had to do it over again, I probably would have put them out a little bit later because we had some cold temperatures late in April, and I think that contributed to some of the cat facing I got early in the season.
It can, yeah. Cat facing, for those who don't know, is where the bottom, the blossom end of the tomato has this weird kind of distortion and almost looks like scarring. It looks kind of like a weird cat face. So.
I water them twice a day. This patch here has drip irrigation set up on it, so it's on a timer. Comes on for 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the afternoon. Keeps the water level fairly constant.
Cool.
In these containers, you really can't water too much.
Right.
Because the excess water runs out the bottom.
You've got some mulch on top of this too, right? It looks like
got mulch to help keep it from drying out.
Yes, but this is the Metro Mix, this down in here.
It's actually, the pots themselves contain a mix of Metro Mix and composted cow manure.
Okay, so really rich soil. Tomatoes are fairly heavy feeders. And you're caging them too, I see. This is my method.
Some of them I'm caging. I started off with the intention not to cage them, but the work involved in tying them up every day and every week got to be too much.
I'm a huge caging fan.
Yeah, so I think next year I'll use more cages. I use the concrete reinforcing wire.
What do you feed your tomatoes with?
Okay, I've been using just the Miracle Grow tomato and vegetable
Is that
fertilizer.
a liquid that you add, or is it
it's a powder that I dissolve in water.
Right, yes.
And I supplement that with some added phosphorus for the flowering aspect of the tomato plants that's so important.
Okay.
So about every 2 weeks I'll put some Miracle Grow fertilizer on there.
Okay. Did you mix any fertilizer into the original soil mix?
There was about a half a cup of pelletized fertilizer that I started with in the Metro Mix from the beginning.
Right.
I also had to adjust the pH. Initially the pH was around 7.
Yeah, that's a little high.
A little high, so I added some sulfur.
Yeah.
To try to lower that, make it a little more acidic.
Sulfur.
I got it down around 6.5.
That's good. Yeah, I wish they wouldn't do that with potting soil. They try to make it neutral.
Right.
As if everything wants neutral, and actually most everything wants 6 to 6.5, slightly on the acid side, or almost everything. And you don't have early blight. Why? What do you do?
Well, I trim off the fungal growth as
you can see just a little bit starting.
A little bit there, yeah. And then about every 2 weeks I spray it with a sulfur-based spray, bonide tomato spray.
Sulfur is a very good organic remedy. But one thing and when did you start? Let me ask you this: when did you start your spray program?
Well, from what I've read, you don't want the blight to get started. You want to try to hit it ahead of time. So I started spraying the bonide probably in early May.
Okay. Before it ever showed up.
Yeah, fairly early.
Yeah.
And I've just kept it up, concentrating mostly on the bottom half of the plant for the most part. I also keep the water off the plants. I use the drip irrigation, which achieves that, but I work hard not to spray any water on the leaves.
It's a moisture-borne fungus, and splashing water, rain of course isn't your friend in that way, but how you water makes a big difference.
This is a potato leaf plant, but it's a Lillian's yellow heirloom.
Lillian's yellow,
delicious tomato.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorites as well.
If you're wondering about what that means, potato leaf, tomatoes come in sort of two flavors of leaves, and it's just varietal. It doesn't have much to do with whether they work well here or not. This is sort of normal leaf. You can see that's what you're used to over here. And this is what's called potato leaf, because it has leaves that are reminiscent of the potato plant leaves. And potatoes and tomatoes are related, so that's not super unusual. So Jim, here's another bunch of tomatoes, and these are not in full blasting all-day sun.
Well, they're not. They miss the morning sun. They get good midday and late afternoon sun.
Okay, and that's obviously enough.
Yeah, and this is where I started early in the season, but I realized that more sun would be better. And so one of the advantages of container growing is that you can move the plants to a better location. So that's what I did. I moved these to the other location in the front of the house.
Right.
And they get much better sun there.
Right.
These still grow well. They grow well, yeah, but it's just not ideal.
Yeah. And I can see you've got an interesting system going here where you sort of planted to the back of the pot.
Well, yeah. This, the idea was to plant off to the side and then to put the stake right next to the pot here into the grass. Unfortunately, next to my driveway, I've got a concrete foundation underneath it. And I couldn't get the stake in the ideal location, so I had to put the stake further out, which caused a fairly bad distortion and kinking of the stem.
You had to sort of swoop it out to meet the stake.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's a lesson I learned this year that I'll hopefully not repeat next year.
Well,
but,
you know,
it seems to have worked, and they've done okay.
Yeah, no, they don't seem to be suffering that badly at all. And you were saying you had some blossom end rot early on, right?
I had a lot of blossom end rot in the first batch of tomatoes. The subsequent batches of tomatoes have not been affected by that, but really the first batch was badly affected. That's
where you see it, is with the first tomatoes of the season. It's because the calcium hasn't made its way through the plant. It moves extremely slowly through a plant. But so you'll get the first tomatoes that look crummy and you wonder what's wrong, and then the problem sort of takes care of itself. It disappears.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all your expertise. This is just wonderful.
Well, thanks for visiting.
Oh, it's lovely. Like Jim, I've always wanted to grow, there's so many varieties, and I've always wanted to grow more tomato varieties than I ever had room for or could deal with if they started producing. So over the years, I would trial. Every year I would do some new varieties in addition to my favorites, and I've made a list of the ones that have worked best for me, and I'm sharing them with you as well as with Jim, and I hope you try these and love them.